Greetings! I'm Johnny, the Dungeon Master for the Moth Company. We've been streaming for a few weeks now, and we've decided to release a quick and concise wrap-up for those of you who might be joining us, might be a little confused on where we are, or just want a quick refresher on what's happened. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the world of the Moth Company itself, and their misadventures so far. So let's get into the world, shall we? This adventure takes place in a custom setting called the Land of Ruin. Now, what once was a profitable, prosperous, and amazing place capable of extraplanar travel and communication with races beyond their comprehension, has been reduced to little more than a heap of slag and ash. Now, how did this happen? Well, over the course of several years, the Illithid race began to manipulate the races of this world that was once known as Arathia. Now, this comes through religions that they've meddled with, kings and monarchs they've screwed around with, and at the end, an extraplanar invasion that the races were simply not able to hold up with. This results in the elves being driven mad and extinguished, humanity forming packs of drifters and beginning to roam around, abandoning their once great idealism, the dwarves having burrowed themselves underground and hidden away from the rest of the outside world, and the orcs being pushed out into the plains to lick their wounds. But with all this darkness and ruin, it might be possible that a few heroes would emerge with similarly dark backgrounds, though they often inject humor into what they do. The Moth Company consists of Urani Astrodel, a human psionic who has an amnesia from contact with mind flayers, but is slowly piecing together parts of her darker past and trying to return to her family. There's Kato Arakeen, an orc with family issues and an intense tie to the Crimson Order, a church of knights that once tried to push away monsters without arms and often practiced blood rites. There's Airden Rivera, a drifter that has had their family torn away from them and is seeking not only to return to that family, but to help restore the races to some kind of civilization. And there's Maya Whitlock, a blood-cursed, which is akin to a tiefling in this setting, who has had their connection severed with magic alongside the rest of their race, and seeks to gather as much knowledge as possible to return that ability to their race. So overall, a very tragic and oftentimes carefree party. Now, what's happened while on their adventures? We've had 5 sessions so far, so I will provide to you each a quick and concise wrap-up of what has happened. We start the game being kidnapped, and after being kidnapped, the Moth Company awakens in this massive city of Zeg, which is only a shell of its former glory. While evading a group of hunters, the party encounters strange sights like a snake made of bone and pools of blood lying in the streets, and otherwise disarray in this once powerful and majestic city. While trying to recover their belongings, they encounter a magician named Pithy, a bald man in a royal blue cloak that is completely out of place with the rags people they've seen. Pithy's trying to retrieve books from the Grand Library, the entire reason the group has made their way to Zeg on the behest of both Maya and Kato. This Grand Library is 6 stories tall. It is a massive octagon that is able to be seen from all around the landscape. Now, Pithy takes them to his hideout and allows them to sleep for the evening, and eventually they go back out to retrieve their belongings and make their way to the Grand Library. The group gets into a scuffle, attacking the base of those that had been hunting them earlier, a strange family of people that seem to cut themselves as penance for some kind of sin, and have a jawless leader with a massive sword. Before they are executed by said leader, they are saved by a group of people in plain armor with stark white banners. But the Moth Company soon realizes that they have been trapped by those same people, and those people have set the city of Zeg alight, and now they race to the Grand Library. In the second session, the Moth Company hurries to retrieve their belongings, save for Erden, who frantically begins to run away from the flames encroaching all around her, or them, excuse me. Now, the party is being hunted by the group that saved them, and they witness the armored people that they've seen starting more and more fires around the city and getting rid of piles and piles of books and other historical reminders of what once was. However, they retrieve their goods and meet up with Pithy, who is hiding nearby the library and is keeping an eye out for people guarding the library. A group of armored people that they have previously seen is keeping an eye on the library, and they now have to subvert these people by tricking them and stealthily killing them to sneak within the Grand Library. The Grand Library is a massive sprawling affair, with the group having to take an hour to find what they want. Each member heads to a different area and retrieves a few books of interest. For Irani, this is a tome of families in the local area. For Kato, these are books about Orcish folklore that he holds very dear to him. To Erden, these are also books about folklore, but including a strange volume from a restricted section that seems to delve into controversial theories about elven monarchs. And for Maya, it is every book they can carry, but not including, um, or rather including, books about magic and the reaction between the planes of existence, and just the general magic ability of the populace. Now, as the group heads outside and seeks to escape the burning city, they are confronted by Kalim and a group of who they now realize are revisionists. These armored people that seek to wipe society and all memories of society clean so that they might start again. Kalim challenges Kato to a duel, seeing as they are both members of the Orcish race, and Kato is badly wounded in the fight. The rest of the group tries to pitch in, but they are also badly outmatched, and Pithy uses a teleportation scroll to teleport them to a random location. Now, there are a few days of downtime between when the group teleports out of this area and when they arrive to the next session. They take a few days to lick their wounds and do some of the reading they retrieved in a small cave outside of the city of Zeg. From this cave, they are able to plainly see a massive plume of smoke rising into the horizon and flames licking the great library. As they continue their research and begin to heal themselves, a tall woman named Scree arrives to the cave. And Pithy, though he has been weak from the effort that he expended using the scroll, quickly goes to converse with this woman. She's very stern and says little to the Moth Company, but between overhearing Pithy's conversation with her and a few contextual clues, the party realizes that these two have some kind of bond together, and more specifically, they hear them referring to each other as brother and sister. Now, the conversation is short and terse, and it seems as if Scree has had something to reveal to Pithy that is of great note. Pithy, though weak, begins to pack his belongings, but before he leaves, he talks to the party a little bit more, just to get an idea of if they would like to join him and his sister on their trek to unearth old artifacts. However, the party says they wish to hunt the revisionists and put an end to their, well, historical revisions. And before Pithy and the group goes their separate ways, he gives each of them a gift and lets them join him and his family whenever they see fit. He knows, for some reason, that they will cross paths once again. And before going to south and pursuing the trail of the revisionists, they break open a wall at the bottom of their cave hideout that has been taunting them for a few weeks. Beyond this wall, there is some kind of old workshop that is oddly devoid of any threats. This is a workshop that has massive forges, weapon shops, and other areas that seem to be abandoned, but were in the middle of production of something. The group begins to venture deeper, fueled by curiosity, and they make their way to a massive basin, that in the bottom of which there is a bronze mass of geometric shapes, crawling all over some kind of statue. The group prods the mass of bronze shapes, and these creatures that are old and rusted Modrons begin to attack. In the ensuing battle, Urani makes contact with a higher being and is quickly thrust into a struggle for her consciousness. Erden, being a supportive friend, tries to help pull Urani free, but while inside of her mind, sees images of an elven slaughter nested within Urani's memories. Meanwhile, Kato and Maya seek to push back the tide of Modrons, and Maya accidentally knocks over and breaks the statue, this colossus of gears and mechanisms, causing a portal to break within it, and this pulls the group against their will onto the plane of Mechanus. Having been teleported onto a new plane of reality, the group struggles to wrap their heads around what happened. The Moth Company quickly resolves to escape the planes as soon as possible, but Erden, in their free-spirited nature, disrupts a line of Modrons marching across the cog they are on. Now, this disruption from the already irate Modrons earns her a court summons to the Primus, though there is no idea where the Primus is, and only that they must arrive at the end of the week. While wandering, Maya Whitlock spots some holes coming from nearby cogs, these massive burrows of dirt and metal that are sitting on otherwise barren and featureless cogs. The group ends up traveling to another cog, which is deeply forested with a waterfall that has twinkling lights high above it. The group begins to wander through a pine forest toward these lights, and Kato comes across and wrestles a silver owlbear and is beaten. Urani, running away from the confrontation, ends up helping a young huntress with a broken leg. The group takes the huntress up to the twinkling lights, which are revealed to be a small village called Falls Top. After familiarizing themselves with the laws of this small village, Urani, Maya, and Erden try to look for some help to get to the Primus, especially talking to the mayor. While this is going on, Kato is sidetracked by another member of his race, an old merchant named Mikas, whose ship is stuck in the dock within disrepair. Kato and Mikas get into verbal sparring about the efforts of Mikas returning home, and while they are arguing, the rest of the crew is confronted with the fact that no one has traveled in or out of the Mechanus for some years, and they are given some direction on how to get to their court summons toward the Primus, which is in the very center of this clockwork abyss. Now, in exchange for this help, they have promised to go out on patrol with a group of patrols that have had some difficulty leaving from Falls Top and keeping an area of a bridge between cogs safe. So, in exchange for that, they receive their information, and the mother of the woman they saved has offered them some shelter within their home for the evening. Now, in the most recent session, the group finished their meeting with the mayor and left the town offices late into the night. Erden, despite what they've seen, resolves to show Urani a night of fun and takes the entire group to a small tavern in the town. While inside, Maya meets a strange fella who has enchanted almost every object in his possession to be animated, believing that he has freed the life within it, and they work with him to accomplish basic tasks. Because this gentleman has no arms, but is well groomed and a little, how you say, eccentric. Despite what Erden has intended, while on the dance floor, Erden vomits at the recurring mental images of the dead elves that they can't seem to separate from Urani. Urani is very confused as she does not know what Erden has seen, and Erden quickly flees the scene, clearly upset at Urani. Erden ends up meeting with Mikas, and the two share a few moments together, working on repairing Mikas' ship and swapping stories between similarly damaged people. While this is going on, the rest of the Moth Company leaves the tavern and finds lodging with the hunter they saved earlier that day and her mother. Maya quickly leaves the group to find Erden, and Urani tries to puzzle out what she did, but to no avail. The morning after, the group shares a fairly awkward morning as Erden and Urani try to work through their problems, but clearly they remain unresolved. Kato continues to practice his swordsmanship and also attempt to recruit the huntress that the group rescued, Anne Marie, though she asks Kato to return after she's healed from her broken leg. The group leaves the house thanking both the mother and the huntress and goes to meet the patrol. Now, the patrol encounters some evidence of strange creatures roaming around the area, and Urani and Kato split from Maya and Erden, with Urani and Kato stalking the tracks of some kind of beast, and Maya and Erden accompanying the rest of the patrol to the bridge where they have been stationed to plant traps and prepare for anything crossing it. Urani during this time begins to feel a small buzzing pressure at the back of her head, and while Erden is connected to her, they feel it as well. It's unclear what this pressure is, but it has been slowly mounting over the past few hours. And Urani and Kato spot a large ant-like creature, but they are unable to warn the party of the threat. Well, that's the Moth Company's first 5 sessions in a nutshell. Thank you very much for joining us, and we hope to see you almost every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on this channel. Thank you very much for watching, and happy adventuring. Bye-bye.